Hi, welcome to Prime Recap. A billionaire starts a marine reclamation project that puts the lives of the mermaids at risk. To prevent her people from being destroyed, Shan must devise a plan to eliminate him. Today we will recap the story of the 2016 movie, The Mermaid. In Hong Kong, a group of people gather to take a tour of the World Museum of Exotic Animals. The paleontologist explains about the emergence of the first marine life forms, which slowly evolved into the great diversity of animals that we know today. This means that our ancestors also came from fish. After the introductory speech, the man asks the small group to take a look at the exotic animals on display in that place. First he introduces them to a tiger that is actually a dog. Then he takes them to Batman, who, according to the museum owner, was a human species that could fly. As the main attraction, there was a mermaid, which was nothing more than a doll stuffed inside a dead fish. When they find out that everything in that place was fake and just a scam, people start asking for a refund. Angry and afraid of losing his only source of income, the man orders his wife to open the door and let the public see the mermaid he had been keeping hidden. But it was all just another hoax because that mermaid was just a bizarre man dressed in a fake tail. When they discover that they have been fooled once again, the audience is outraged and gets into a fight with that crazy man. On the other side of Hong Kong, the Green Gulf was being auctioned off and the dispute was between a man named Xuan and a woman named Xuan. Ultimately, Lu manages to buy the bay for a price of 20.8 billion Hong Kong dollars, 3 times its market value. Later, he receives a visit from some friends at his home. Among them were Cheng, Xuan, and Uncle Rico, his wife's father. Cheng claims that Lu was an idiot for making such a high investment in a land where there is nothing. However, the billionaire claims that if the Green Gulf can be recovered, he will make much more money than he invested. However, Cheng says that that land was a conservation area where several dolphins lived, so it could not be modified. Lu rebuts by saying that the dolphins that reside in that area are migrating from there and shows the man a permit document that he got to reclaim that area. Upon reading the paper, Cheng becomes angry and decides to leave. Lu tries to make him give up this idea and stay with them for dinner, but the man is furious. He wears his new acquisition, a suit that fires a high-tech jet, allowing its wearer to fly long distances. Lu pops open a champagne to celebrate and the cork flies straight into the button of Cheng's machine. The device is triggered and the man goes flying off the handle. While his employees try to prevent the demented man from destroying the entire house, Lu receives a proposal from Uncle Rico, who suggests that they work together in the recovery of the Green Gulf. After Lu accepts the offer, the man informs him that he will leave his daughter, Xuan, in charge of that project. At night, the billionaire throws a party in his mansion, and his newest business partner is invited. When Xuan arrives there, she finds him surrounded by women, all of whom are clearly interested in his money. Xuan then takes her $8 million watch and throws it into the pool, claiming that the first one to find it will keep it. At that moment, all the girls get up and jump into the water. In this way, she is able to prove that all those women are on Lu's side solely for the money. Xuan praises him for coming out of nowhere and getting to where he is now, and then proposes a deal. Since she is a partner in one of the largest real estate brands in the world, she could help him restore the Green Gulf and raise its market value. Then they could both make a lot of money from the sale of that property. Lu agrees and pulls Xuan to sit next to him. Just as they were about to kiss, a strange girl with her face all painted up approaches and calls out to him. The guards soon gather around to restrain her and Lu orders them to let her go. She introduces herself as Shan and apologizes for sneaking into the party. Before the guards can put her out, Shan hands Lu her phone number and asks the man to call her. On the way home, Shan stops by her work and takes the opportunity to devour a whole roasted chicken. Before leaving, she picks up a few more servings to take back to her family. When she enters the house, the girl opens the basement door and goes down a kind of cave with her skateboard until she reaches a shipwreck. Apparently that was where her family really lived. Inside a bathtub, there was a boy full of sores on his skin. Shan throws some medicine into the water and the boy thanks her. When he dives back into the tub, his tail is revealed. Seconds later, a creature half octopus and half man asks her how the plan to get Lu's attention is going. According to him, that man was responsible for destroying the Green Gulf and causing the death of many of his kind. A few days later, Lu and Xuan meet with other executives to discuss the project that was underway for the Green Gulf. George, the marine biologist in charge of that project, says that his team has placed sonar transmitters in the Green Gulf, which prevent dolphins from occurring in that area. Xuan asks how they can guarantee that the dolphins will not return. At this point, an assistant appears and informs her that these sonars are unlike any other. She explains that this new equipment is much more powerful and destructive. To demonstrate their mechanism of action, She presents a small goldfish in an aquarium, where a miniature sonar is attached. When she turns on the device, the animal becomes desperate trying to escape, until its body explodes. Finally, George tells us, those sonars detected a frequency unlike any they had ever seen. Back on the wreck, when Shan removes her clothes, it is possible to see that she is also a mermaid and uses her tail to walk like a human being. She was not the only one. In the submerged part of the ship, there were dozens of other mermaids and newts that were stuck there because of the sonars that were deployed around that area. Many tried to escape in search of their freedom, but ended up being brutally killed like the goldfish. The elder mermaid is the wise one who guides them and has the mission of passing on to the next generations the history of their ancestors. She tells that, in ancient times, her ancestors were monkeys. With the constant changes occurring on the Earth's surface, some monkeys were forced to live in the sea. For these animals, their legs were no longer useful and evolved into tails. According to the old woman, at some point in human history mermaids and humans coexisted side by side. However, after a certain period, humans began to hunt mermaids. Since then, they have avoided mankind. However, as the years passed, humans became even more violent and used increasingly deadly weapons. Before the story ends, the old lady begins to sleep, and the octopus concludes by saying that human beings are evil and need to be exterminated. Because of humanity's fault, they were stuck in the Green Gulf and could not get out either by land or much less by sea. According to him, the only hope they had of getting back to the ocean was to kill Xuan. To do this, they made an incision in Shan's tail so that she could walk over and try to seduce him. Then they would send their soldiers to kill him. At this point, an old lady in a cap shoots a poisoned harpoon into the octopus' chest, and he starts foaming at the mouth. Luckily for him, alcohol is able to neutralize the poison. They spend all afternoon by the cell phone waiting for Lu's call, but the phone doesn't ring. Instead, the man is enjoying himself in Ruolan's company. The woman does not miss the opportunity to humiliate him and says that even though they are both rich, they are completely different. She was born into a noble family while Lu was poor for much of his life. According to Ruolan, his poverty of spirit was clear when one analyzed the women Lu was involved with. Unhappy at being treated that way, the man calls Shan and tells her that he is going to pick her up at her house. Upon hearing the news, the sea people get excited and rush to prepare a trap. They use a giant slingshot to take them to the top of the mountain, where their home was. The octopus sits on the couch with a gun in each tentacle and waits for the billionaire to cross the door. However, to his chagrin, Lu does not go there himself. Instead, he sends some of his employees to pick up the girl. The octopus goes after them and hands Shan a backpack. When they arrive at the mansion, a woman serves 2 glasses of water to the girl and informs her that Lu will arrive soon. Shan then takes the opportunity to poison the man's water, but is surprised by the arrival of one of his security guards. The guy says he needs to check her before allowing her to meet with his boss. A second security guard runs a metal detector under the girl's body and finds nothing. However, the device starts beeping when it reaches her feet. He asks the girl to remove her shoes and Shan tries to avoid that situation, but the man insists on examining them. Just as her secret was about to be revealed, the security guard finds a metal sphere stuck to the sole of Shan's shoes. After removing it, he asks his colleague to pass the metal detector again and the girl is released. Now it is time to examine what she carries in her bag. The man is shocked to find an urchin and a dagger made of shark teeth inside the young woman's bag. To make matters worse, he is even more surprised when Shan reveals that that weapon was used to open the hedgehogs and eat them. Now that the security guards have verified that the girl was clean, one of the men gives her one of the glasses of water and drinks the other. Shan is afraid that she has picked up the poisoned one, but decides to drink it so as not to arouse suspicion. However, seconds later, the head of security begins to feel ill and foams at the mouth. The girl gives him some alcohol and soon the man is back to normal. His helpers give him some more water to calm down and the guy gets sick again. Just then, Shan spots Lu and goes after him. When she enters the room, the girl puts on her glove and takes the hedgehog to attack that man. However, as she prepares to attack him, an object accidentally hits her forehead. But Shan does not give up. She moves a little closer and throws the hedgehog towards Lu. However, the man was behind glass, so the hedgehog is thrown back and ends up on the young woman's forehead. The girl makes a second attempt, but one of the employees accidentally slams the door in her face and another hedgehog sticks in her face. At that instant, her mouth starts foaming and Shan tries to get a drink to neutralize the poison. She sees an opportunity to attack her enemy, but a song plays just then and the man begins to dance, dodging her blows. Unable to defeat him, the girl takes the drink to save herself. After being healed, Shan gets up with an unshakable determination. She would not leave that place without first fulfilling her mission. However, when she was very close to her target, The girl takes a golf shot to the head, and only at that moment does Lu realize that she is there. The man regrets having taken her to his house and, after handing the girl $100,000, asks her to leave. Shan says she is not interested in the money, and Lu offers an even larger amount. He then gets up and leaves, but when he sees Ruolan approaching, he decides to accompany the girl to her house. In the car, Lu keeps trying to pay Shan to leave, but no matter what he does, she is not interested in the money. On the way, they approach the place where Shan works and the young woman invites him to go and try the roast chicken. He says he accepts the invitation and asks the driver to stop the vehicle. When the girl gets out, the man orders his driver to speed up. However, a few minutes later he changes his mind and goes after Shan. She asks Lu to taste the chicken and, although unsure, he decides to try that food. A few hours later, all that is left is a pile of bones. Lu begins to cry and reveals that that chicken reminded him of his father. He says that when he was a child, his family was very poor, to the point that they had to search for food on the streets. One day his father brought him a chicken thigh and it tasted very similar to the chicken they were eating. Because of the hardship he experienced during his childhood, Lu grew up determined to make a lot of money. Upon hearing this, Shan rebuts by saying that there is no point in having a lot of money if there is no clean water or fresh air on that planet. At this point, Lu thanks her for the chicken and hands her a check for $1 million, but Shan has an unexpected attitude. She gets up and throws that piece of paper into the fire, turning it into ashes. Lu returns and sits down next to her again. The girl invites him to go on the amusement park rides, and that is what they do. This was the first time in many years that Lu had returned to his origins, and this made him happier than anything his money could buy. After they have had fun for a few hours, he accompanies her home. At this time, the girl receives a call from the octopus and informs him that she is coming home. Lu offers to walk her to the door. On the way, he holds the girl's hand, and Shan ponders whether she can let him die. As Lu returns to the car, she asks if he wants to come in for a cup of tea. The man accepts the invitation, and before opening the door, Shan asks what he would do if he had just 1 minute to live. Lu replies that if he was about to die, he would do exactly what he was doing at that moment. Shan then decides to go in alone and asks the man to leave. When asked why she let the target go unharmed, the girl says she was tired and parched, so she couldn't accomplish the mission. A few hours later, the man calls Shan again and invites her to go on a date the next day. The octopus is excited because this was a new chance to eliminate the enemy. During lunch, Lu appears with a box full of roses and hands them to the girl. Then the octopus approaches and introduces himself as Shan's uncle. He would be the cook who would prepare lunch. Suddenly, several armed tentacles appear behind him, and at that instant Lu's security guards appear. Knowing that he couldn't beat all those guys, the octopus drops his weapons and says that those tentacles would be the main ingredient of that meal. Just then, two chefs appear and say that they will prepare lunch. During the cooking, the man cannot disguise the pain he is feeling while his tentacles were being ground and sliced. To get rid of the situation, the octopus releases his black ink and runs out the window. Nobody understands what has just happened, and Shan explains that her uncle also does magic tricks. Lu asks everyone to leave and says that he needs to talk to the girl about something important. He says that that night he could hardly sleep because he couldn't stop thinking about her. Then he takes her hand, puts on a ring, and asks her to marry him. The young woman is startled. After all, they had met the day before, but Lu says that the most important decisions of his life were made in a few seconds and got him to where he is. He claims that meeting Shan is the best thing that has ever happened in his life, but the girl doesn't want to hear it anymore. After all, she was cheating on him all this time. While they are arguing, Lu kisses her, and Shan discovers that she loves him. Just then, Ruolan appears and the girl leaves. Back home, the octopus is recovering from the tragedy that has befallen his tentacles. He presses Shan and asks if the girl is in love with Lu. She says no and says she doesn't want to continue with the mission because she can't kill another person. Just then, she hears a noise and goes to answer the door. To her surprise, Lu is on the other side looking for her. At that moment, he discovers that his beloved was not a human. Looking around, he finds several other mermaids. The man tries to escape, but is captured by the octopus. When he wakes up, he finds that his sonar was causing the destruction of hundreds of sea creatures, and for this he would be killed. However, before the execution is carried out, Lu reminds him that if the mermaids kill him, the sonar will remain on. Finally, he promises that if he is released, he will order his team to turn off the sonar. The billionaire asks forgiveness for causing such pain to these people, but the octopus uses one of its tentacles to grab the man's neck and strangle him. Just as he was about to leave for good, Shan appears and cuts off the tentacle. She then asks Lu to run away. At that moment, there is no longer any doubt that Shan is in love with him. The octopus threatens to kill her, but is unable to do so. The girl cries as she is being eaten away by guilt, but she could never forgive herself if she saw her beloved being killed right in front of her. At the police station, the man tries to tell what happened. He says that he was abducted by mermaids, but obviously the police officers don't believe him. So he goes home and tells the same story to the head of his security detail. Upon hearing what Lu was saying, the man decides to call a psychiatrist. Just then, Ruolin appears, and Lu sees in her his last hope. They embrace and the woman invites him to her room. When he gets there, he uses Ruolin's computer to do research about the mermaids and about his own company. Then Lu discovers that his company is destroying the environment and decides to pay a visit to his research lab. Once there, he asks them to let him experience the effect of the sonar. As soon as he enters the chamber, the sonar is activated, and the man cannot stand to be subjected to it even for 5 seconds. When the machine is turned off, he vomits and his head is about to explode. When the assistant arrives to help him, she informs him that that was only 10% of the sonar power. As Lu leaves, he orders his team to turn off the sonar immediately. The committee refuses to give in to this request, but soon Ruolin shows up and asks them to do as Lu says. The sonars are turned off and the woman asks the reason for that decision. Then the man reveals that he found mermaids in the wreck of the Green Gulf and Shan is one of them. In addition, the sonars were destroying all the marine life. Upon hearing this, the woman claims to believe him. She proceeds to the next lab and informs George where to find live mermaids. Inside, Lu spots mermaid remains and skeletons. Ruolin informs him that, so far, they had only found dead specimens. But with Lu's help, they would have several new specimens for their study. The goal of that research was to extract DNA from mermaids so that his company would have the most advanced biotechnology in the world. As they approach the place where the mermaids were sheltering, Ruolin directs her team to shoot as soon as they see them. According to her, those creatures were extremely intelligent and fast in the water. Ruolin would rather capture them all dead than allow any of them to escape. Meanwhile, Lu takes one of his cars and sets off toward the bay, but gets stuck in traffic. The man tries to buy the motorcycle from a woman, but she refuses to sell the vehicle to him. When all seemed lost, Cheng shows up and Lu has a great idea. When they get there, the scientists find nothing. A diver makes sure that the mermaids are hiding at the bottom of the ship and George orders them to shoot them out of the water. During the attack, many of them end up being killed, and those who survive go to the surface and are captured. The brutal attacks begin and their bodies are bagged and clumped in a corner. Shan is captured, but luckily manages to escape and return to the water. 2 divers go after her and use a harpoon to attack the girl. However, Shan dodges the attacks and returns to the surface. Just as she was about to be captured, the octopus manages to save her and throws her off the ship. However, the humans use a net to prevent the mermaid from escaping. A group of armed men approaches to eliminate her, but the old woman uses her powerful tail to knock them out. With her powers, she controls the water and eliminates most of the soldiers. George tries to shoot her, but the sage attacks him back, causing an explosion capable of sending him off the ship. Just then, the old woman discovers that the sonars have been turned off and calls the rest of her people to flee. However, the attacks have not yet ceased. While swimming to the bottom, Shan is hit by a harpoon, which gets caught in her tail. The boats start chasing her, but the girl is much faster and manages to get away from them. However, Ruolin is determined to eliminate that mermaid. The woman chases her in her helicopter and launches a missile to exterminate her. Her plan works, and on impact Shan is thrown to the surface. The girl is extremely injured and her tail has been charred. Right in front of her is the museum's fake mermaid, who takes the opportunity to capture that moment. Then the soldiers approach, and soon after, Ruolin appears. She orders George to kill that mermaid, but before he can do so, Lu comes out of nowhere. The man uses Cheng's flying machine to get to the scene and says that if they want to kill Shan, they will have to go over his dead body. He takes the mermaid on his lap and walks toward the sea. Just then, the woman takes the harpoon and shoots Lu. Even with 2 arrows going through his chest, the man does not give up to save his beloved. After throwing her into the ocean, the police arrive on the scene and he faints. A few years have passed and a boy named Long Jianfei goes to visit Lu at his new residence. He asks why the man has donated most of his money to the protection of the environment. Then Lu replies that if there is no clean water or fresh air on the planet, it doesn't matter how much money a person has. Next, the young man questions him about the existence of mermaids, and Lu states that these creatures are a legend. Upon hearing this, Long shows him a picture of a mermaid taken by an anonymous person. Still, Lu claims that mermaids are nothing more than a fairy tale. Just then, his wife Lucy appears and they tell the boy a little about their travels. Together with Lucy, Lu got to know the bottom of the sea, and more the man fell in love with marine life. So what did you think of this movie? Leave it in the comments below. And if you liked the video, please like and subscribe for more movie recaps. See you next time.